A room without books is like a body without soul, says Cicero. A very happy morning to one and all present here. We are extremely delighted to welcome you all to the National Seminar on Books and Reading organized by the Department of English, University of Madras to celebrate the World Book Day, which falls on 23rd April every year. It's indeed a delight that this day marks 455th birth anniversary of William Shakespeare. I, P. Pushkarni Durga, will be taking you through this program and the wonderful events of the day. I would like to call our respected Professor and Head, Department of English, University of Madras, Dr.S.Armstrong, to deliver the welcome address and the theme note.
Mini Krishnan, Translations Editor, Oxford University Press, based in Chennai. Andrew Collister, Second Consul General in the Australian Consulate in Chennai. Our writer, Imayam, a world-renowned Tamil writer. My dear students and faculty from different colleges affiliated to University of Madras and faculty from outside Chennai, book reviewers from the department and also from other colleges all over Tamil Nadu and also outside Tamil Nadu, and members from the press. I am very happy to be here in this morning. I met many in Delhi last month, and then we just broached a topic about a program. And I told many, this day is very important for literary world, for William Shakespeare's the birth and death anniversary takes place. Then many suggested that day is also World Book Day. I remembered, but I didn't relate with William Shakespeare. Then that brought all of us here. It is very important because UNESCO declares many days. Some days are commercial to promote some multinational products, but this day is not like that. UNESCO promotes this day to promote three important things. Number one, copyright. Copyright is very important. It is like our human rights, correct? Second important thing is reading. In the advent of technology, we lost the reading habits. The third important thing is publishing. Publishing is very important. So then I thought the guest for the day, and Andrew Collister has been supporting the department a lot. Very inspirational support. I don't want to reveal. One thing is books. Today, Andrew told me that somebody is going to send books for our department. There's a great need on this World Book Day. So thank you, Andrew, for the arrangements and for the information on the World Book Day. Okay, books all over the world are very important. I am listening to many TED Talks about reading and books. One quote I just want to remind you is, be a stoic, don't be an Epicurean. So that is the quote I always remember. So then I thought, many guys, read books and then they achieve a lot. I always remember Abdul Kalam. He used to quote three important books that is very important. One I always carry and read, Man the Unknown. Three important persons molded our former president Abdul Kalam. These three books, one of them is this. What is the name of this book? Man the Unknown. Dr. Alexis Carrel. One book that we must all read. Second book for Abdul Kalam was Tirukkural. He always carried that in his suitcase. Third important book is, I think many of you might have heard of this, Light from Many Lamps. Light from Many Lamps, Alexis Carrel. So these three books always, molded him. For every speech he used to refer to these three important books. Then I thought Gandhi. All of us know Mahatma Gandhi very well, but what kind of books molded Gandhi? Three important authors that we are all familiar: Henry David Thoreau, John Ruskin, and Leo Tolstoy. Without these three, you cannot imagine Gandhi. These three persons molded him like anything. And they say they are mentors, not only molders, mentors. Mentoring is very important now. The advent of technology resulted in lot of e-books. How many of us are honestly reading? Tell me. Just speak to your conscience. I have been requesting my first year students to go to library and then read Times Literary Supplement. After a great struggle, we brought that hard copy to our library. It is there. Back numbers are there. I'm very happy because some of our students are going to speak on that today. Times Literary Supplement. The next important component of this event is London School of Economics. Every year they post important books in their website. After a very careful review, there is a center called Language Center in London School of Economics. Many of us do not know because we are carried away by the word economics, so we always neglect. But when I visited, I was surprised to see there is a center, language center, attached to the London School of Economics, affiliate of University of London. This university is based on the model of London University. What kind of message that we take it from London University? Nothing. We always say Madras University is based on London University. What kind of features we have? Nothing. We don't have a very good library here. I always remember librarians on this day. There is no academic event to celebrate librarians. We have 4 librarians in our University of Madras. The 4 guys never meet. They are not at all encouraged. I am very sorry to share this. At least one thing I thought, okay, we take it from this University of London, London School of Economics. So our research scholars are going to present 5 top books reviewed by the Language Center of London School of Economics. They are going to do that. So in that way, that is how we have themed the program. I'm very happy to be here, to be with Andrew and Minnie and our renowned writer Imayam. These 3 are very important because I invited in such a way that the theme of UNESCO goes together with this event. Copyright. Imayam's novels are digitized in University of Chicago and University of Columbia. Can you just imagine? His books are digitized in University of Chicago and University of where I just visited. But that is a great wonder because I want to have this day because William Shakespeare never visited universities in UK. Yes or no? Our Imayam also never visited any universities, but he is invited to universities every week. And our editor, inspiring editor, Minnie Krishnan, so far she has edited 106 full-length translations. Just give her good hands for Minnie because that could be a kind of world record. An editor for about 2 decades editing full. I'm not praising Minnie because I don't want to praise because the work I just want to acknowledge here because many of us, including me, do not know. 106 full-length translations. Can you just imagine? We can just read and write books, but editing is something different. It is very, very difficult. And not only that, Minnie was a founding editor. I am also introducing the guest also. Editor of South Asian Women Writers website hosted by British Council. As a member, she curated this. And also, Minnie was an advisory panel member in the Indian Literature Abroad during 2010 and 13. And she served in the advisory board of the National Translation Mission. Many of us do not know. There is a mission called NTS, National Translation Mission 2006 to 13. And Minnie also edited a series called Living in Harmony for class 1 to 10 students. That is the first peace education program for schools in India. She was member Peace Education, NCRT, NCF, and also Curriculum Advisory Board during 2006 and 2009. And many of us know very well, Mini in the Hindu, she has 2 columns regularly. The word for that, I read it regularly, Ethics and You. They are all in the Education Plus and the Literary Review. In that way, Mini also advises the front line for select short fictions. So that is how Mini has been inspiring visibly and invisibly all the academic community in India and abroad. In that way, I am very happy to present Mini here. And Collister is a person who got BCom in Australia, and also he did his PG degree in Master of International Relations. And he was a trade negotiator in the Department of Foreign Affairs in Australia for quite some time. And currently, as all of you know very well, he is second Consul General. He is academically encouraging all of us in a lot of academic events, and many events related to films are encouraged by Andrew. And he is very busy today. He just flew from Delhi yesterday, I think midnight, and I am very happy to present Andrew here. Thank you so much. And a formal introduction will be done by Dr. Venkatramanan during the presentation of our Imayam writer. So thank you so much, and thanks for your patience. Thank you.
Nobel Prize-winning Russian novelist Alexander Solzhenitsyn, in one of his novels called The First Circle, he wrote, "A writer is a second government." Solzhenitsyn created a furor both within Russia and also outside Russia. This is the power of words. Today we have with us one such writer whose words are indeed powerful. Friends, இமயத்தில் அமர்ந்து எழுத்தால் ஆட்சி புரியும் எழுத்தாளர் சிந்தனையாளர் இமயத்தை சென்னை பல்கலைக்கழகத்தின் ஆங்கிலத்துறை சார்பில் வரவேற்பதில் பெரும் மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன். நறுமணம் is a collection of short stories by Imayam, published in 2016. In that we have a short story called Unmai Kadai. The story or the narrative begins with a conversation between Leelavati and Selvam. The context is revealed slowly and dramatically. On the 3rd page, when Selvam says, "Amma," we realize Leelavati and Selvam are mother and son. What is the issue? Leelavati, the mother, is desperate to go to an orphanage. Do read the story to know what happens. There is a description. குச்சியை ஊன்றிக்கொண்டு லீலாவதி நடப்பதை பார்ப்பதற்கு செல்வத்துக்கு கஷ்டமாக இருந்தது. இடுப்பை வளைத்து வளைத்து உடம்பை கோணி கோணி நடப்பதை பார்ப்பதற்கு என்னவோ மாதிரி இருந்தது. கால்களை நெளித்து நெளித்து ஒவ்வொரு அடியும் மெல்ல மெல்ல எடுத்து வைத்துதான் அவளால் நடக்க முடியும். பார்ப்பவர்கள் வினோதமாக பார்ப்பார்கள். நடக்க முடியாத ஆளை நடத்தி அழைத்து கொண்டு போவதற்காக தெரிந்தவர்கள்தான் என்றில்லை. ரோட்டில் போகிற யார் வேண்டுமானாலும் திட்டுவார்கள் என்ற எண்ணம் வந்ததும் செல்வத்துக்கு லீலாவதியின் மீது கோபம் உண்டாயிற்று. ரோட்டில் போகிற ஆட்கள் எல்லாம் என்ன நினைப்பார்கள் என்பது அவனுக்கு பெரும் கவலையாக இருந்தது. ஆனால் எதையும் பற்றி கவலைப்படாமல் நொண்டி நொண்டி லீலாவதி பித்து பிடித்த மாதிரி நடந்து கொண்டிருந்தாள். திஸ் இஸ் இமயம். சிறந்த எழுத்தாளருக்கு அறிமுகம் தேவையில்லை. அவர்களின் படைப்புகள்தான் எழுத்தாளர்களின் முகவரி. In the same story there is another description. செல்வத்துக்குத்தான் நடக்க முடியவில்லை. ஆனால் லீலாவதி கால்களை இழுத்து இழுத்து வைத்து வேகமாக நடந்து கொண்டிருந்தாள். ரோடு, வண்டி, வாகனங்கள், ஆட்கள், வெயில், வியர்வை, கசகசப்பு எதையும் அவள் பொருட்படுத்தவில்லை. வலி அவளுடைய கண்களில் இல்லை, மனதில் இருந்திருக்க வேண்டும். நடை அவ்வளவு வேகமாக இருந்தது. ஸ்கூட்டர்கள், பஸ், கார் என்று வரும்போது கூட அவள் ஒதுங்கியோ தயங்கியோ நடக்கவில்லை. செல்வத்துக்கு வியப்பாக இருந்தது. அவளை நடக்க வைக்கும் சக்தி எதுவென்று தெரியவில்லை. This is the kind of narrative that pulls us in. One is I'm reminded of a description, a similar kind of a writing in Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. Imayam's works, Koveri Kaludhil, was translated as The Beasts of Burden. Armugham was also translated in English. Then we have Sedal. Then we have his short story collections, Manbaram, Video Mariamman, Kolaicheval, Savuchoru, Narumanam, and Selladapanam. His much acclaimed novella, Pethavan, was translated as The Bigoter. Imayam is also the recipient of several awards. Today's World Book Day, an important day. It's also Shakespeare's Day. It's also a memorable day because of Imayam's presence. My privilege to invite Imayam to address the gathering. Thank you.
I welcome Ms. Mini Krishnan to deliver the keynote address.
Good morning, good morning everyone. Just a bit. Thank you, Professor Armstrong. Thank you, Department. Where is Supala? Thank you for inviting me to participate today. I hadn't prepared a speech, but early this morning, we exchanged messages at 4 a.m. I don't know who wakes up earlier. Armstrong said, "Can you send me your speech?" So I said, "Oh, I didn't write one." I immediately sat down and wrote a speech. So I have this here. But before that, I loved the topic, books and reading. I was reminded of what happened in my school days, which is about 100 years ago. The big teacher, Swami Chinmayanda, was supposed to come and speak in our school. And just before he arrived, there was some sort of a flurry because the topic was changed by the school captain. So she said, she called me and said, "You go and tell Swamiji that we changed the topic." So I went and told him, "Sorry Swamiji, but we changed the topic, now it's this." So he said, "You keep whatever topic you want, because I will say what I want." So like that, I'm here to present the idea of translation, and in fact Shakespeare's entire work is based on a whole lot of translations. Since I prepared the speech, I'll read it. It's a rare honor for a publisher because I'm neither a writer nor a researcher, but something in between. Thanks to all of you, the help of both these categories, I try to shape reading tastes and preferences, catering to emerging trends and supporting what academia engages with. I'm privileged to be on the same platform as Annamalai Imayam, one of our greatest living writers, and Andrew Collister, Australia's cultural and political voice in Chennai. It is fitting that these forces appear together on World Book Day because we are facilitators of an understanding of the world, and we promote the sharing of stories in some sort of universal space which both foregrounds and transcends the personal. Thank you for reminding me about the copyright, the element of copyright. Books also have rights like humans. In 2014, I anchored a session on marginalized writers from India and Australia at the Bangalore Literature Festival. Andrew, this is for you. You listening? The visitors from Oz were Dylan Coleman, Jeanine, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, Jeanine Leanne. And you know what the primary worry was? That they were losing their languages. They were from Aboriginal origin, backgrounds. And they said they were at least 2 generations away from those who could speak their languages. They themselves couldn't speak them anymore. And they were part of a group that had set up schools to revive these languages. And guess who the teachers were? They were, in the sense that we recognize, they were illiterate grandmothers, grandfathers, people who still spoke those languages. But for those of us who live by the printed word, really, every day is book day. But it is fitting that we honor the date of birth of the man who never went to university, never specialized in the classics, but who knew how to access them partially through translation and entertain the average person. There's a wonderful book called The Silver Pilgrimage by Anantha Narayanan, I think. It's no longer in print. I'm sure there's a copy in the library though. in which it's set in the 16th century. An Indian is shipwrecked, and first of all, when he leaves the country, you couldn't really call it a country at that time, when he leaves his village, he loses caste and all that. Anyway, he's shipwrecked, and he lands on the shores of England, and somehow he makes his way around London and all those places. In London, he attends one of Shakespeare's plays, and I think it's Hamlet that he watches, and he writes in his journal, what sort of a play is this? What sort of theatre is this? He mixes up all the time and plays, he mixes up all the universities. This is absolutely barbaric, because this is the way that they perceived us when 200 or 300 years later, when they came in, the British looked at our systems of learning. The man who never went to university, never specialized in the classics, but who knew how to access them partially through translation and entertain the average person. And this he did with great power and authority, if I might be allowed to use biblical language. A reference to the Bible naturally brings me to one of the major influences we see in Shakespeare's language, because translations into English of the Hebrew and the Greek Old and New Testaments were available at that time, Wycliffe's 14th century translations and Tyndale in 1520. As you all know, they were both horribly persecuted and killed. Their translations burned in public, and Wycliffe, they even dug up his corpse 30 years later, the coffin 30 years later, and strewed his bones. They were so angry about translations of that time. These were widely read in Shakespeare's lifetime. Did Shakespeare read languages other than English? He knew Ovid and Plutarch, but did he read the originals or translations? We don't know for certain. We know he used modern French and Italian works. He read books on law, medicine, folklore, alchemy, astrology, and much, much else. Shakespeare proved that language is a social energy like coal and oil are natural energies. Human capacity for articulation and writing and thinking has set us apart from other species. We are not as fast as cheetahs or horses. We are not as strong as bulls. We are not as adaptable as bacteria. But our brains are equipped with the facility to produce and process speech and abstract thought and memory. For at least 80,000 years, language has enabled the sharing of ideas, and our relationship with our own language and with other languages builds an archaeology of human experience. I'm very glad that the day is going to be filled with students reviewing important books. So I think it's absolutely novel, Professor Armstrong. Really congratulate you on the idea. But I cannot understand why no translations of Indian writing have not found a place in today's deliberations. We have our own literary culture, our own literary ecosystem, and I would have been very happy if 50% of the reviews today had honored that fact. Where is Ranjani? We were in touch before we met today because her work is on Kesava Reddy's books, and I've brought for her a book which was published probably in translation, probably the year she was born. How old are you? Okay, that book was published 22 years ago, the one I gave you this morning. So please provide our languages through translation. English, the visitor language, is very important, but it cannot replace your mother tongue. Writers too, writers like Imayam, writers have their home team, and our home team is our nation. By the way, that's a quotation from the book I told you about. Writers reflect the nation back to itself from the inside. And this is the central message of my address, the importance of translation in our lives. As you know, Shakespeare has been translated into a number of Indian languages with all sorts of curious endings where Romeo and Juliet are brought back to life and things like that, because the Karnataka audiences couldn't stand the death of the hero and the heroine. Have you watched a film called Bend It Like Beckham? Anybody watched it? Yeah, I think Indians are bending English like that, bending it like Beckham. That's what we've done with English. And here is an excerpt from a short story which Imayam wrote. It's not yet published. The translator is Vasanta Surya. Tell me if you can hear the rhythm of Tamil behind the English. Just move up a little, said the woman from Vadakaripu. Vadakaripu, is that the correct translation? That's someone's seat. They'll come now, said Priyanka. When they come, I'll get up. Now move up. They've gone to the shop. Be back now. Is this bus your family property or what? It's the government's. Then what's the problem? Move up. It's someone's seat. They'll be coming. How many times do I have to tell you? Find another seat. Let them come. You move up or move out of the way. The woman spoke with some force. She was from the cluster of huts to the north of Priyanka's own village. Priyanka was sitting in a space meant for two people. A handbag lay on the seat next to the window. When the northerner told her to move, she had at once taken hold of the bar above the seat ahead with both hands. Only if she removed her arms could anyone go past her. The woman tried to push away those arms. It was no use. Priyanka wasn't loosening her grip even a little. You're going to which place? Demanded the woman. Aladi. Priyanka was curt. All the way to Vadakaripu, I have to go. Can't keep on standing so long. In this whole crowd, it's only you who's just 4 stops from your place, isn't it? So why can't you shift a bit and sit over there? Is there no other place in the bus? She asked. If there was, why would I come and hang on you? The Vadakaripu woman's angry question fell on deaf ears. Deliberately looking away from her, Priyanka stared out of the bus. I will close with a word about teaching and mentoring because we are meeting in that environment. You students are fortunate because you have people who can not only guide you in your reading, but also discuss your responses to what you have read. Look at the great chance you have been given to publicly assess and share your views on milestone works. Reading well is best pursued as an implicit discipline because finally, with all the methodologies, all the critiques that you talked about, finally, there is no method but yours. Thank you very much.
I welcome Mr. Andrew Collister to address the gathering.
Good morning, everybody. Vanakkam. You don't need to clap that, Dr. Armstrong. To introduce myself, although many of you have met me before through previous events here, or I recognise a few familiar faces from the ship tour we did of HMA Success recently. My name is Andrew Collister. I'm the Vice-Consul at the Australian Consulate General here in Chennai. As mentioned, my role covers many facets of Australia's relations with South India, including cultural relations, which is what brings me here today on this event for World Book Day, and it really excites me to be here. Like many, I was also up at 4 a.m. this morning. I just stepped off a plane, so forgive me if I haven't slept a lot this morning. But I wouldn't have missed this for anything because I think the key thing is, this is me talking from the heart, but there's nothing better than a good book. And there's no better way to engage with another culture, with another people, with another country than to read the books from that country. And I say that I've travelled to many countries. I've been across the world. As I said, this weekend I was in Egypt, and much to my girlfriend's pain, I bought a few more books there because I wanted to understand the local voice and what it means not just to go see the pyramids or go see the museum, but to hear those voices. They can be the old voices, they can be the classical voices, but they can also be the new and urgent voices. They can be the previously marginalised voices. Books, once those words are down on paper, and a book like this is fantastic. It's Growing Up Aboriginal in Australia, edited by a woman named Anita Heiss, who was here at the University of Madras earlier this year. Now this book is a collection of stories told by Indigenous Australians who previously have not had their stories told. And through that, this book, through that, has become a marvellous window. But as I was saying, books offer a window into all voices from a place, and they really enable you to build a greater knowledge and understanding. Now, coming from Australia, I know that when people think of Australia, they think of cricket, they think of kangaroos, and they think of beaches. And yes, we do have beaches, we do have kangaroos, and we are very good at cricket. But that's not what Australia is all about. Australia is a fascinating, multicultural, multifaceted land, including a very large Indian population, 700,000 people. And all these people have stories that are demanding to be told. We've recently brought Australian authors out to Australia. We had Australian authors at the Jaipur Lit Fest, at the Hindu Lit for Life here in Chennai, also at the Hyderabad Lit Fest. And one of the books I picked up there was a collection of stories called Of Indian Origin, which, like this, was a collection of stories by Australians of Indian origin who have written short snippets about what their experiences are of growing up in Australia. It's a departure from the usual narrative, but it's an essential reading for understanding the modern Australia. In addition to Anita's book, Anita she was taken by her visit here. She loved it. For those who weren't there, the students translated one of her poems into 6 different Indian languages in under 24 hours. And she was really touched by that she's wanted to stay in touch. And through her, we are organising for a much larger shipment of, as Dr. Armstrong said, of Australian books to the Australian Studies Centre here in Chennai. This shipment will include many new voices, Indigenous voices, female voices, different voices that continue to change and shape the narratives that go on in Australia and in the world. And I encourage all the students here, when the books arrive, and we'll have a lovely launch event when they do, to read those books and gain a greater understanding of Australia, and through yourselves as well, or through myself, that I've attained a greater understanding of India since being here, since reading Indian fiction and non-fiction. And I'll say what Minnie said about translation. It's not just about the English literature. I've also read translations such as Jasmine Days by Benjamin, the Malayali writer. And they said over the weekend when I was in Egypt, I didn't buy just books by English-speaking writers. I bought translations of Arabic speakers, because then you get an additional voice, a more, not always, but often a more authentic voice, and occasionally a more marginalised voice than the dominant English language narrative. But being here today as well, that on that point, that books, there's nothing better than a book to create a greater understanding between our countries. And that, as I've said before, is one of my main goals here in Chennai. Part of what we do in foreign policy, a lot of people think trade negotiations, or they think meetings between prime ministers. And that's true, that's part of foreign policy. But the key aspect of foreign policy to me, the thing that you do every day, is creating links and understanding between people. And so that you have a greater knowledge, respect and understanding for Australia, and that Australians have a greater knowledge, respect and understanding for India. It is only then that it creates the bedrock for much harmonious, better relations between our two countries. It's a much longer game, it can be a bit of an unsexy part of foreign policy, but it's the most rewarding and ultimately the most fun, and that is why I'm so glad to be here today. I want to thank Dr. Armstrong at that point. I want to thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoy the day. There's some very interesting books being reviewed here today that I really hope will encourage you to go seek them out afterwards and to keep broadening your horizons. Thank you.
Ms. Minnie Krishnan, Mr. Andrew Collister, Mr. Imayam, for your presence in spite of your busy schedule in this national seminar on books and reading. I once again thank you all. And now we move on to the first session of the day. First session will be chaired by Mr. Andrew Collister, Second Secretary and Vice-Consul, Australian Consulate, Chennai.
Everybody, as mentioned, I will be chairing this session 1, which includes some exciting reviews of Australian literature. So can I please invite Dr.S.Armstrong, reviewing Anita Heiss's Growing Up Aboriginal in Australia, Dr. Annapurni, reviewing Gerard Manane's Border Districts, Dr. Saranya, reviewing Ellen Van Nieven's Heat and Light, Dr. Supala Pandyarajan, reviewing Penny Van Toorn's Writing Never Arrives Naked, Dr. Meera Narayanan, reviewing Amish Tripathi's Sita, Warrior of Mithila, and Dr. Jebasynthia, reviewing Arundhati Roy's The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. Can you please come to the stage?
So I thank Andrew Collister for chairing the session. So I am going to review Anita Hayes. Anita Hayes visited our department, and after her arrival in Australia, she sent the book quoted by Andrew in his address. So the title of the book is Growing Up Aboriginal in Australia. This is the title. This is the title is very important because it connects many writings all over the world. So I will let you know the other titles available in the world later. So what happens in this book is this. There are 51 Aboriginal persons, not all of them are writers. They are all from different walks of life in Australia. And the book spins around one important concept called childhood memories. They're all grown-ups now. They go back to their childhood days. What happens during their childhood is the stories compiled in this book. 51 stories are presented. Anita received nearly 156 entries after the call for this book, but only 51 were selected. 51 were selected. I'd like to highlight 5 important themes in this book. So next slide, Abhishek. So one of the important themes in this book is a struggle of being in between black and white. So this theme is global in nature because the advent of colonization resulted in mixing of races, like mulatto in US. We have Métis in Canada, or the First Nations people where the separation called Métis, M-E-T-I-S, mixed race literature. So the mixed race literature is very important because the father is from different racial background, the mother is from a different racial background. Look at the psyche of the children born for this, paternity and maternity. So what kind of journey they have? So this struggle of being between black and white is one of the important chapters in my opinion. I just go to the important quotes. This book comprises poems, prose pieces, and also memories. So I just quote. Alice Ether is the writer. Alice Ether. The title is given by me. I took the title from the chapter, and then I'm just reading the poem. This chapter is titled like this. Is Aboriginal word. I quote. Yuva Karabura is the title of this piece. The author is Alice Ether. Can you expand, Abhishek, the letters possible? Or I just read. I am standing by this fire. The embers smoking. Look at the phrase, embers smoking. The ashes glowing. The coals weighing us down. The youth are buried in the rubble. My eyes are burning, and through my nostrils the smoke is stirring. I breathe it in. Just imagine the pain of this a mixed race child. The psyche of the child is reflected like this in this poem. I got the last stanza. look at it also ends with fire. We have got to keep this fire burning with ash on our feet and coal in our hands. Look at the powerful image, Can you imagine like this? We have got to keep this fire burning where? With ash on our feet and coal in our hands. Just imagine the imagery. Teach Bara Rodibua, all them young ones, how to live side by side. Cause tomorrow when the sun rises and our fires have gone quiet, they will be the ones to reignite it. You are Karabura, these flames, beautiful, winding up. These flames, us will be their guidance. This title again reminds me of Mini's the recent book, Listen to the Flames. This is Dalit writings across India is compiled here in this book, Listen to the Flames. But in Australia, we have flames. Flames are they become a hot air for the Aboriginal children. So that's how this chapter goes. I go to the next chapter. Next chapter, please. Yeah. One of the important violence that happened in this world after colonization is epistemic violence. So epistemology is very important. The life world is very important. So their knowledge of the environment, ecology is very important. I came across another memory called Growing Up Native from Canada, written by Carol Geddes. So Carol says, when she was in the residential school, there are two courses are given. One is typing, the other one is science. Okay. So Carol, without her knowledge, she is enrolled in typing class. And she loves to read science, but the science courses are meant for the non-Aboriginals. So the system here, this is called epistemic violence. They want to learn, but they are deliberately discouraged not to enroll for typing course, but for science. So same thing happens in Anita Hai's book, the living between two knowledge systems. They have the practical knowledge of the world, but where the bookish knowledge is introduced in the school system. So when they go to the schools, the Aboriginal Australians, what happens for them is here in this chapter. The title, goes like this. This is the same title I have taken. Living between two knowledge systems. The one knowledge system is about their Aboriginal way of life. The next knowledge system is, the bookish knowledge, where the curriculum prescribed, the books prescribed in the curricula, and what's happening here is, this is the struggle. The knowledges that the older men hold about fishing and the water systems are passed down. When I learned Koori is one of the important languages or Aboriginal languages spoken in Australia. When I learned Koori, meanings of words, I was told that these were the same words that my ancestors used to describe the environment that I would see around me. So, the epistemology is inbuilt among the Aboriginal children. But I quote again, when I was growing up, Camp Banjalung, that is the name of the place, was a camp where young Koori boys from the region were brought together and given an opportunity to learn more about the native ways of knowing. So, there is a school inbuilt in their way of life. Okay, so that's how it goes. So next chapter, a story from my life. Next. No, before that. Okay, good. Okay, so I take this word from this chapter. The title of the original chapter is Story from My Life, but I took this word from the chapter Assimilation, 1920s and 1970s. So this period is very important for Australians because all of us know assimilation, right? So people, the school system again, it's very important because they wanted to assimilate, they wanted to separate children from their parents, and they are in the school and they are assimilated. Okay, the original the white culture would like to assimilate in the culture of the Aboriginal children, and then that is how this chapter highlights the concept of assimilation. I just read 2-3 lines. William Russell is the person, author of this chapter, the story from my life. He says, how much Aborigine do you have in you? And if you don't disclose your Aboriginality, you are seen as deceiving people. And I have lost jobs, relationships, and friendships that way. And anyway, I feel and I am Aboriginal. Measuring the blood is very important among indigenous people, not only in Australia, also in North American countries. The blood is counted, and the blood count is very important. For instance, in the Native Americans, they want to claim, 1 by 10 Native American, 1 by 9 blooded Native American, something like that. They, claim like that. Okay, next. Other important theme in this book is displacement. So that is very important because the theme, there are two important themes when you read the growing up series in the world. Number one is growing up as a child. The next one is getting home. So these two themes are very good topics for research also. What do you mean by getting home? Homelessness is connected with the growing up series, which I will take it up after this slide. Getting home alive. There are families in Australia wandering for months for a place, for a shelter. So you are displaced, okay, no home. Your family is an extended family. So family members are just wandering in the forest, bush, correct? So this story talks about this type of displacement. Just 2 lines from this assimilation. Yeah. After several prolonged conversations about what being adopted meant, I realized, selfishly, I suppose, that I must have another mother and father, perhaps other brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts too in the displacement. Next, Abhishek. Yeah. Next one, the last one. This is the last one I want to take. This is called the Aboriginal Equation, the last chapter in this book, written by Tamika Worrell. I just read the beginning, the first 6-7 questions which are posted. Again, related to the percentage of Aboriginal person. I just read these lines. Quote, what percent Aboriginal are you? One of the questions asked in Australia. Next question, you don't look like an Aborigine. You have done really well for an Aboriginal. You are not like those other ones. You are one of the good ones. Next, you wouldn't have had it hard growing up. Next question, I am darker than you are. Are you really Aboriginal? So do you get all the benefits? All the Aborigines are angry? These are the questions posed to Aboriginal. Just imagine these questions. So he's beginning in the chapter begins with these questions. Okay, the author is Tamika Worrell. Tamika Worrell. Next. Yes. So I just, from my own memories today morning, I gathered up what happens in this book is this number one, oral history and then storytelling as a tale. When I read this, I felt like this. Lot of oral histories are presented, and storytelling, looks like as a tale told in person. Next point is transition between past and present. Sorry, lines are mixed up, so I'm just follow my words. And next important metaphor I found is the boot of the sting of humiliation and the boot of discrimination. Next point you can remember in this book is this is from Carol Geddes from Canada. She says, I want to retain my culture everywhere, wherever I go, by keeping native culture in my mind, and I can also holiday in Mexico. I want to combine both. So don't tell me that you have to keep only your culture alive. I can also go to Mexico. I can go for holidaying. So that's how you can. Next point is memories are very important. There is a study called memory studies in academia in the world. So this book is the best example to be included in the syllabi called memory studies. Next thing is anti-stereotyping. You can't see any stereotyping in this book. All anti-stereotyping stories and hardships of living in the bush. Okay, and then the last 2 points are very important in this book is the sense of family, extended family. That feeling is created again and again. And then survival as again other theme that is familiar in Canada is extremely applicable among Australian Aboriginals. Next. Yes, I just want to connect this book with other books in the world. Okay, just quick, only the wrappers I have designed. This author is very important in Canada. Very powerful book, essay, Growing Up Native in Canada. Beautiful title. I read it again and again 10 times. If you want, you can just note down this Carol Geddes, Canada. Next one. Very lovely book, again from Australia. This was published in 19th April. They have brought out this in Australia. Now look at the picture. Abhishek, can you expand the possible? Not possible. Okay, the African kids are presented in this cover. Yeah. In a very lively picture, I really enjoyed. This book was brought out in Australia, edited by Maxime Beniba and Clark Magan. Okay, so this was out last week in Australia. Next book. Yeah. Again, this book, Australia, this is going to be out on 26th April 2019 in Australia. The title is Growing Up Here in Australia, edited by Benjamin Law. Benjamin Law is an important person in Australia. So this book is going to be out soon. Next book. This book, Rufus is going to speak on this. In this book, how books helped, Booker T. Washington when his mother showed him the alphabets. He wanted to read. He walked about 150 kilometers to find a school. So Rufus will speak about this later. So this book is also very important because I would like to categorize this book under Growing Up series. This book was brought out in 1901. Next. This book is from India. I think many of you are familiar. Vasant Moon, Growing Up Untouchable in India. A very powerful book by Vasant Moon. Vasant Moon edited all the writings of Dr. Ambedkar. Next. This is again from native, American side. The title is Growing Up Native American. I read this book, all childhood memories. Look at the authors: Joseph Brudak, Michael Doris, Louis. That's not spelling. Erdick, not Frederick. Okay, Erdick E. Luther Standing Beach. And these are the authors presented. Edited by Patricia Reilly. Next book. This book again from African American side, Growing Up African American in Catholic Schools, by Jacqueline Jordan Irvine and Michael Foster. I'm yet to read this book. I have ordered. Next book. Last one, very powerful. Growing Up Black in America. The story of everyday life, racist life, by Brian Jones. So this book is also you can include. So this is called Growing Up series in the world. Okay. So nobody did any research in this area. If anybody is interested, you can take it up. Next, last one. I think this is the last one. Yeah. Thank you so much for your patience. I am ready for some questions, but not now. No time. So maybe later you can catch me. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.